2028, one Big Mac will equal $1 million. From the Gospel of John McAfee. Bro, just learn to code. The Project Freedom Podcast.
Boom. Welcome back, guys, to another show. I'm Josh, and as always, this is the Project Freedom Podcast. All right, so as you guys saw from the title, what being a man in 2022 is like. But in all seriousness, though, this is like an actual topic that I think deserves some discussion. Because, like, first and foremost, I will say, I don't think a lot of people care much about men nowadays, except for other men that are in like the know, right? And we're gonna get there, and at the end of this dark, desolate tunnel, friends, there actually is going to be a very nice and bright light. Black Sheep says it's absolutely magnificent. Excuse me. Yes, it is. But please allow me, Mr. Black Sheep, to get to the light at the end of the tunnel. All right. So what have we seen in the last few years? All kinds of craziness, right? I mean, I don't need to like specifically point out every single thing that's just very clown-esque in nature since, I don't know, December 2019, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. But even before then, I'd say maybe at least in the last decade, things as far as like societal norms have changed substantially, right? You guys all know what kind of community I stemmed from. You know who people I guess we could say interlinked with, right? So you guys know how I think about a lot of stuff. Kodimu says hola. Hola. It's pretty great to have a D-I-C-K. Yeah, it's not so bad. Archer says hola as well. I'm not gonna lie, says Cody. Yes, it's not an awful thing. That's for sure. But back into what I was talking about with like societal norms just being like completely different in the last 10 years. You guys know what I'm talking about. There's really not a lot of like let's just be honest here. There's not like a lot of like family oriented trad or traditional values that are as prominent anymore, right? In fact, friends, I would say that they're most likely to be more likely to be frowned upon if you have a traditional viewpoint on things than if you had this new modern, we could call it a religion, but some people might get upset if I said that, viewpoint on it. But what was masculinity or men in our history? What did that look like? Well, I don't really know about cavemen, but prior to, let's go back to like the nuclear family. Maybe when was the nuclear family? It was the 1950s, 60s, 1950s, 1960s, whatever. Men were primarily valued based off of their accomplishments, their competence in doing things and getting things done, and their ability to provide resources and to procure them, right? And they were valued this way not just by women. Women were the only people who valued men because of those aforementioned things, but other men valued and looked up to other men because of those things too, right? For example, the homeless guy on the street who is a heroin addict wasn't really like the model citizen that people would look up to from either of the sexes. However, in 2022, women no longer need men to provide things to them, right? In fact, I think a majority of college degrees like over 60% in the last 3 or 4 years have been females, not males. So, and that's if you buy into the whole thing where if you want to be successful and make money, you need to go to college, which you guys also know how I feel about that. And I have a college degree, a hard one too. Women are also more accepted into, we could say, more masculine-esque like feels now, right? Like there's no way to dance around this, guys. Like, it wasn't very like masculine. It wasn't a very feminine thing 10, 20, 30 years ago for a woman to be a software engineer, right? Now it's like, that's just the norm, right? And that goes for all fields, like lawyers, police officers, anything. They're included in everything. And by the way, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be, all right? I'm not saying that we need to get rid of that. I'm just telling you guys how it is, all right? There's no opinion injected in there whatsoever. Christian Soto says cells interlinked. Yes, interlinked indeed. Riley says, what's good, Josh? What is good, Riley? Good to see you, man. Ashley Schaefer, BMW in the house. Mr. Schaefer, when am I going to come purchase a BMW from your lovely car lot? What up, Yen? Says, I heard heroin and came running. This guy right here. This guy. He's a funny guy, man. He's a funny guy. And so basically, guys, in essence, what has that done? That's really all that's really done is take away that dependency, because it was dependency, from women onto men. So now, what do women really need men for? What do they need men for? Crickets? I mean, I guess the casual fun playtime, but that as far as like something that binds people together for life, that requires them to need the other sex to help them with things, we could say on the surface level that they don't need men anymore, right? And then the same thing can be extended to children. Children, one could say that they don't physically need men, a man or father in the household, because they can just get resources from the government, or if their mom, if they have a single mom, she can just get resources from the government and or the father of the child that may or may not be in the life of them anymore. They don't need people to teach them anything. If you consider the public school system, the end all be all, they have free education, right? So I will preface this by saying that pretty much like we could say that men and women don't need other men anymore, right? Saying that, right? Not saying it's a fact, but it seems that way at least, right? And what are some of the ramifications of that? Well, men have kind of been like swept under the rug in a lot of areas of society. What's one thing that I think in particular is like no one even ever talks about this. Like there's like battered women's shelters and like shelters for women all over the place. In fact, your city probably has multiple of them. But can you think of have you guys ever heard of a men's shelter? And the crazy thing is, people say like, well, that's because of domestic violence and stuff. But like domestic violence goes both ways, fellas. All right. It goes both ways. And it's not always the opposite way. It's not always like a woman being violent to a man. It could be another man in their own household. It could be a father, attempting to like viciously harm a child. And that child, they'd have to go, let's just say they're like 16 or 17. They have to go to like child protective services or something, right? Christian Soto says the men's shelter is called a jail. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what a men's shelter is. Real talk guidance for both. Problem is that most men can't offer that. Yep. Mm-hmm. It's also a very huge problem. Very huge problem. What else, guys? Like marriage laws, they're very not in the favor of men. They're pretty much unanimously in favor of women. If you don't believe me, go on and head over to Legal Mindset channel. He will tell you that is a fact. Literally, infinitely, right now, anywhere. Speaking of laws, there's a lot of laws that are kind of unfair to men and go in favor of women. We were just talking about domestic violence. In almost any state in the United States, like if you are a woman and you call the police, like let's just say you're mad at your husband or your boyfriend or whatever, and you're a crazy psycho, you're a crazy psycho, and you're mad and you just want to send him to jail. You don't even have to have any markings on your body or anything. All you have to do is pick up a phone and call the police and say, "Hey, my husband, my boyfriend, whatever, he beat me. Come and help." And they'll come to the household. And even if there's no markings, by law, most states, not all, but most of them, have to take whoever is the larger threat at that time and remove them. And by remove them, they don't take them to a men's shelter. They don't take them to whatever. They take them to jail, right? Yeah, there's legal. Thank you, Christian Soto. There's legal mindset channel in the link right there, friends. I mean, there's a lot of laws that aren't not just not favorable to men, but are just they're disadvantage to men, and they're an advantage to anyone who's not. If you think otherwise, I'd be glad to debate with you about that, because I mean, a fact is a fact, right? There's no feelings about that whatsoever. That's just happens to be just a fact, fellas. And also, like, just general social stigmas of men. Like, societies don't care. Society doesn't care if a dude is suffering, if a man is suffering. They're just like, huh, puss, right? If a woman is suffering, like, random people will help. But if, like, imagine this, guys. Imagine this. Imagine you guys saw, and we can go do an experiment if you want. Some guy just like frantically crying in the middle of the street versus like a woman. Like, out of the two situations, who do you think is going to come and lend the other a helping hand? People are going to go help the woman, right? Not the man. And there's psychological and like evolutionary reasons for that. It's repulsive when a man does something like that. And, you know, in most cases it should be, but at the end of the day, everyone is a human. So like, we can't just throw all those people in the gutter, right? I'm not saying we have to like accommodate for them in every way, shape, or form, but at the very least, we could not make it to where things are disadvantage for them in one way, shape, or form, right? What else? Like fatherless homes. Yeah, back to like the marriage laws and stuff. It extends to like child custody and all that stuff. Like, there's a lot more fatherless homes, and these little boys and girls too, because my personal belief is that little girls need to have a father in their life. Like, it's beneficial for them and not good for them if they don't have it, right? They might have to have they might have to go through some extra bumps in life in order to get over some of the things that maybe their father could have taught them. We have all this fatherless homes. Like, there's young boys out there who don't have a dad and they don't know what to do in life because they were never taught. I mean, they were taught by like they were taught by like Karen, the substitute teacher Karen in third grade, who doesn't give a rat's ass about them. All right. So overall, one could make the assertion that men don't really have it so great as far as like a societal standpoint, right? So fatherless homes, the government doesn't like them. Opposite sex doesn't really care. The opposite sex treats them, has the ability to, at least, even because you don't have to be treated bad by women. Not all of them will treat you bad. There's some very nice ones out there, trust me. But it's kind of like if we put the shoe on the other foot, some of the things that some women do to men, if a man did to a woman, it would be like, like, no, you'd actually go to jail for that, right? So what does a man do in 2022 with all these things and no guidance or support, or at least a blueprint of what life should be like? And there's a quote that I have for you guys, and it is, in a world that seems to exist without purpose, having a purpose is without a doubt one of the most powerful ways to feel useful again in a man. In a man. In a man. Go to the internet. Yep. That's about the only thing, right? That's about the only thing. And thank God for the internet, bro. Thank God for the internet. If you want to know, if you're out there and you think that you're one of those people and you think you don't have any help, first of all, yes, go to the internet, like Cody said. Do something. Look for network with people who can be those areas in your life that you didn't get when you were growing up. But have a purpose, guys. Have an actual purpose that means more to you than anything else. All right. Now, have a purpose. It's like a meme, but it's a real thing, guys. It's a real thing. And your purpose isn't like, I want to get that 2022 Ford Bronco Raptor in this specific color. All right. That's a nice like goal, but that's not a purpose. All right. A purpose is something that you live your life in order to accomplish. All right. Something that you do for an extended period of time that you need to accomplish. All right. I'm not talking about buying a physical object. I'm not talking about like having your body look a certain way after like spending X amount of years in the gym. All right. Those are great like things that you can do to be I don't want to use the word progressive, but to be a non-degenerate at least, right? To have some kind of like substance in your life. But a purpose is, if you're looking down the road like 10, 20, 30 years, you want to do something big. A purpose is that end goal, guys. It's that end goal. And if you have that, none of the shit that I said before matters. All right. I don't give a fuck if like marriage laws are worse for men than women. All right. Maybe I would care a little bit, but it's not going to affect me because first of all, I'm probably not going to get married. And second of all, if I did get married, the person would be vetted up the ass stringently to the point to where I would know without a reason, without any doubt that they would hinder me from that purpose. All right. Because remember, the purpose comes first. The purpose actually comes above yourself. And that's something people won't say to you guys. If you are a man, if you want to actually have a purpose and do it the right way, that purpose has to come over you. Right. So, and the reason why it coming over you is so important is because if you're thrown off course from your purpose because you got your feelings hurt, maybe like, I don't know, somebody stole your car. All right. Or maybe a random stranger came and beat you up. All right. Or maybe, a girl broke up with you. All right. If you have that purpose, these things are down here. Those are your feelings, and those have to do with how you feel in that moment. All right. And they're also temporary. That purpose, it's above you and it takes precedence. And if you can't be spending time worrying about these like lower level feelings, if you know that at the end of the day, that long-term goal, that actual purpose that you have, it's not going to happen if you sit and fester on whatever is in the moment, right? Cody Moose says, seems to be a good strategy so far. Yeah, the internet it hasn't been so bad, bro. Hey, all of us are connected here from the internet, right? Spark55 in the house says, hi. Hello, my friend. Good to see you, man. The purpose is literally your life. Yeah. And what do you want your life to be like? Like what do you want your life to be like? Most people don't want their life to just be like the way that it is now, and they'd be happy and that's it, right? If they tell you that, they're most likely lying. Maybe there are a few people who are like content the way that it is, but they at the very least want to like do something good, be able to have some sort of ability that can be used to do something good, right? And with that being said, not only is that thing, I believe, that purpose, the purpose, not only does that need to be above you and your own selfish reasonings, it also has to be a purpose that is selfless in nature, right? Now, there's people out there that'll probably disagree with me on this one, and that's fine. But your purpose should be something that accomplishes greater good, not just for you. And it's totally okay if it's going to be a net positive for you, but a greater good for just if you can be the whole world, even fucking better, right? But for at least a net group of people, okay? Your family. If you have a kid, your kid or kids. If you have, I don't know, like you have a dying mother and her last wish is blah blah blah. It sounds really cliche, but like perfect example, okay? And you know the whole like millennials wanting to change the world thing. That's a real thing, man. But it's not an impossibility. And if you actually think that you, throughout the entirety of your lifetime, can accomplish something that is for the greater good, and that is your purpose, none of the other shit matters. Nothing else matters. And I would say, above all things, that is what being a man really, really is. In 2022, in a world where everything is just clown times 10, and also there's not a lot of real men anymore either. There's just not a lot, because there's really very few people who just have something that they have the need or desire to accomplish for the greater good of all humanity, or just something personal to you, someone personal to you. All right. So keep that in mind, fellas, and think about that. If you ever feel stuck and you ever feel like, man, life's so shitty, blah, 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 when you're sitting away, grinding out your work, whatever it is that you're doing, keep in mind that at the end of the day, you have something that you need to accomplish before you die. And that comes before anything else. So as always, I hope that stream, that topic at least, was helpful to you guys. You guys know the drill. Like button, please and thank you. Subscribe if you have not subscribed. And that is it. I'm out. See ya.